As if a bit of mud wasn't bad enough, Mother Nature seems insistent on turning Florida Sports Park from a monster truck haven back into a good old-fashioned swamp buggy track. The skies are wide open on these behemoths that are equally bent. We only ask that you hardy fans grin and bear the chilly downpour as we struggle to keep our camera lenses clean. It is absolutely wretched out here today at Florida Sports Park in Naples as the All-Star Monster Truck Tour 2024 Monster Masters Championship Series continues. The Zimmers leading the pack in 1 and 2, followed by that man right there, Montana Robbins in third place and Plain Crazy. But today they're going to be battling the weather more than anything because the rain won't stop. It was beautiful when we rolled in, but when the pit party started, the rain started coming down, and the trucks aren't the only thing getting battered by the weather. Our end zone camera decided to take a nap partway through this one. We're going to take you through highlights, though, of today's action at a very cold and rainy South Florida. Montana Robbins, I mentioned, sitting third in points right now, trying to get a leg up on the Zimmer family, that being John Zimmer Sr. in Uproar and John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. And you'll see very quickly, there is nothing but nothing to get a hold of on this track here today. Up next would be Athena Kozel, who has had her own set of challenges, as if the weather and mechanical problems she suffered earlier this season weren't bad enough. She has lost front wheel drive. Came out for intros, and we noticed when she went to stop, the front wheels just kept turning. She slid up to the wall, only scores a 3 in best trick. She is having a rough start to her 2024 season. Elliott Miller in Colossus, not wanting to be outdone and wanting to put on a show for the fans. Figured out if he stopped higher on the ramp, the thing will tip right over. He managed to get a stoppie on one of the worst tracks of the season. And he showed that the hang time is still there. Somehow those ramps are staying dry. One more, again, the amended best trick competition because of the conditions, trying to go after a 6 right there. He would score an 8, leaving 2 points at the top and very kindly not knocking the turn marker over, so no one has to walk across there. John Zimmer Sr. out of Howell, Michigan. Papa Zimmer in the Patrick Chassis Uproar, the brand new machine for 2024. Trying to outdo Elliott Miller. And you can see even the KG veteran having trouble finding something to work with. Dug him a hole out there on the island at a score of 5. The defending champ looks for something to go after. Big hang time to start off his best trick run in Crazy Train. Didn't go after a stopper this time, just went right back for more big air, as they have been having trouble getting stoppies all season long, but he scores a 7. That's 2 points up on Papa Zimmer. That's what he was looking for, but would they be able to stay out in front of this guy, the points leader, John Zimmer Jr. out of Howell, Michigan in Terminal Velocity. Right here, he's already showing that he's going to be a force to contend with on even the worst tracks. He has shown that before. In round 1 in Brooksville, Florida, he was able to find traction that some others weren't. But here is going to be the great equalizer, because this track is an absolute slop fest. You can even see the rain on the camera lenses. Big hang time right there, looking for a takeover number. The score to beat was an 8, laid down by Elliott Miller, a 10, a perfect 10 for John Zimmer Jr. launches him into the early lead.
We're $1 billion machines, so not only because it's cold outside, the monster trucks are still getting hot, and the drivers need to cool their trucks down still. So right now, but we got the best trick trophy. This goes to John Zimmer Jr., Terminal Velocity, but he just told our officials to tell you that he doesn't want to take the trophy home, right?
Yeah, you know what? We saw it a little bit yesterday. We've seen it on tour before. John Zimmer Jr., he's obviously pretty good. So he's got just a stack of these at home. His mom's like, I have no more room on the table. I got no more room on the floor. You just got to stop bringing these things home. So what he's been doing is he's been giving it away to a fan in the stands. So I'm looking for somebody with a Terminal Velocity shirt, a hat, a checkered flag, someone going crazy. I'm going to give this trophy away on behalf of John Zimmer Jr. What do you say, Naples? I want to see you right now. There you go. If you want a big trophy,
You see all those umbrellas up there in the stands. The fans came down to get a look at the trucks up close, and again, real hardy fans here in the monster truck industry as they are braving the weather, some without umbrellas, some without jackets. Might be going home sick, but they'll be going home with some nice swag. Well, it'll be rain-soaked. We're getting into qualifying round highlights now. Elliott Miller on this track. If you didn't see it last time, this is a Z-shaped obstacle course, totally different from our normal roundy-round course that happens right on the front stretch. You'll see they come off the island, down the center lane, onto the other island, make a right-hand turn, down the access road, left onto the front stretch. Miller, not pretty, but he gets across the finish line at 23:06 for Miller, and they did not penalize him there. They have moved the turn marker on this day in South Florida. He still didn't quite make the turn right, but they gave him a pass that time because he didn't totally cut it. Uproar! Papa Zimmer trying to blast his way across the upper part of the track. He will have the outside lane when he comes down toward this side. Keep your eye on this. See how nasty it is? It was dry over there yesterday. Quick though, a 22:26 out of that outside lane, so he was able to take advantage of that momentum and carry it across the finish line. The other Zimmer, John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. Stage is up. Sam Hollander zips across the island to safety with the inside turn on the final leg, trying to better the time that his father laid down on the outside. Would he be able to do it? Tough inside corner. You can see it's not nearly as quick as it was yesterday. Obviously floating in that mud at 22:78 would put him in second place out of the qualifying round. So John Zimmer Sr. leads the field out of qualifying. When we come back, the Monsters racing the slop at South Florida. Stay with us.
This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. Your high-performance fix on the go. This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.
Back at a windy, rainy Florida Sports Park in Naples. Temperatures in the high 30s, low 40s at best. It is very cold out here, but that is not stopping these fans from hanging in there as we take you through racing highlights, an abbreviated bracket. Top 4 out of qualifying went to round 1, and this one was very important to the man who's starting in the right lane to the left of your screen, John Zimmer Sr. He may say he's forgotten about it, but that light volley in Brooksville, Florida still has to stay in a very competitive mind, wanting to prove the outside lane on the final turn was no curse. Drives to a victory over Triton Robbins, wisely, legally finishes the track. Even though he was struggling with that final turn, he did go ahead and make a legal run, just in case there was any hope of getting back in this bracket, but it would be to no avail. Who would Zimmer Sr. face in the championship race? Either the second generation John Zimmer Jr. in terminal velocity, who will have that outside lane on the second leg, or Elliott Miller in Colossus, a pair of Michigan machines on the line. Who would go to the finals? Still, somehow, the top half of this track is not sloppy. I don't know why, but silt is not letting the moisture down in, but you can see him making tracks across there. Miller trying to blast it right here. Elliott Miller had that race in hand, but didn't cross the finish line. He stopped a mere foot from the finish line. Slid sideways, would have put himself into a final round race with John Zimmer Sr., but it didn't happen. This was the final round race. A pair of Zimmers on the start. Zimmer Sr. would have the lane that he won out of in round 1 in this championship race. Could John Zimmer Jr. make the most of the inside turn on the final leg? They're right there together. Watch them burn it down. To the finish, and uproar was floating down that final front stretch. Had no hope when he couldn't get the tires to dig in, and that was all she wrote for racing action this weekend in Naples, Florida. One more look at it from the CJFPV drone that is getting muddier and muddier every time it goes out. You can see how far away from the action they're staying today. Good view of this thing, though, coming across the finish, and look at that. Zimmer Sr. out by the wall, got into the heavy stuff, and the truck just floated on top of it, couldn't get the wheels buried and make tracks. So John Zimmer Jr. puts more points on that number 1 spot. Stay with us. Freestyle action is next.
The world-famous C60 Cyclops, the infamous Dodge Carryall, unnamed and untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy of a Mudbogger turned monster truck at freedomracingnt.com.
Back in the wet weather with more highlights from here at Florida Sports Park, trying to keep that end zone camera working, but it ain't too happy here this weekend. Looking on down through the SLOP, that thing might be on its last legs. It sat there in the rain bag, actually filling up with water. Montana Robbins here with our freestyle highlights, starting things off by hosing down the front stretch crew with mud. Thank you, Montana. Trying to work through an ailing truck. The mud, the rain, and everything taking its toll on these guys here this afternoon. And the electronics in these trucks really don't like the moisture. He was already dealing with a steering issue earlier today. We would see if that would come back to haunt him in this freestyle competition. It haunted him in qualifying. Hopefully not here today, because he had a strong start in Best Trick. We knew the truck was capable of getting up and going, but again, having trouble with the onboard electronics was not helping it. Just searching for traction out here, and again, I don't know why the top part of this track where there's no obstacles stayed so dry. If the rain would have cooperated this week, or at least held off, it had some big jumps up there, and it just didn't work out that way. They're able to lay the Z for the track out, but other than that, it was pretty much a desert out there. Here in the swamps of Naples, Florida, as Montana Robbins works to wrap up his freestyle run. Not the run he wanted to lay down, I can tell you that right now. Still dealing with some problems in that truck. A score of 20 for the Empire Flyer. Comes out to a very, very grateful, gracious crowd. Now, Athena Kozel in the action here today. Let me tell you something. She has fought through mechanical issues. Fought through a first weekend of bad weather, fought through more mechanical issues, now here today with bad weather and mechanical issues. She is about to get a rude awakening about remembering where you are on a monster truck track. Keep your eyes on this one. Again, working this track, no traction, no front wheel drive, just frustrated trying to leg this machine around in these conditions. And you thought it was nasty driving out here before? Check this out. Right into the second sippy hole. I don't think anybody's gotten a taste of that black water since Corey Snyder came here a few years ago and belly flopped into the front stretch sippy hole. Here's a good look at it. And here's the thing that happens. Watch where the water goes. Up the hood, up the windshield, and right into the helmet. So hopefully none of that went into her mouth, because that water has been stagnating here. When it's filled up, everything sort of gets diluted. But you can see how black that water is just sitting there in the center of the track. It's not an indictment of Florida Sports Park, by the way. These people are more than hospitable, and we thank them for being so kind to the All-Star Tour every year. Score 8, but hey, the crowd loved it. Something a little bit different as she climbs out of the trucks. Of course, there you see the obligatory arms in the air. Farmer and Dustin Spallone walking back. They know they got some work to do. Elliott Miller in Colossus, rolling out, or flying out onto the track as one of the All-Stars, putting a little trucks and tractor power down in front of the fans here, but things were less than ideal for him. Rear steering will not straighten up. That's one problem. Listen to the engine note. Trying to get that truck woed right now as you see him locking those brakes up. And he does have an issue with the throttle. Something causing it to hang open. Not too bad, but it is hanging open just a little bit. And a little bit is a lot when you're carrying this much horsepower. Elliott Miller trying to get that truck out to open ground to lock it up. Finally kind of gets a hold of it here. Takes it back into his pit area and would shut it down. So really not the start to the weekend that any of these folks were hoping for. That was just the first half of Freestyle. We got 3 heavy hitters left coming at you in just a moment as Miller scores a 12 in the big blue Chevy from Ionia, Michigan. But almost ended up on his top right here. Gave the fans a little bit of a thrill, but there's some big scores yet to come. Stay with us. The final 3 coming at you from Florida Sports Park.
Hey, welcome to Wildman Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Welcome back to Florida Sports Park in Naples, and you can see the conditions just won't let up. Not much it would have done anyway, even if the sun came out, as nasty as this track was, but it would have been nice to get a reprieve from the wind and rain. Triton Robbins in Crazy Train, continuing our freestyle highlights, blowing the mud high. The big horns coming off those zoomies every time he comes around, blows the mud up onto the side of the train and then dries it off with the heat. Trying anything he can to set a number in front of the Zimmers, who will be coming 1 and 2 after each other in this field. But Robbins, who did not need any more ailments on this season after struggling for the first 2 rounds, coming out yesterday, having a decent showing, but not one that he was happy with. Still trying to find it here in Crazy Train. Trying to get on that straight track right there to get some hang time, and the mud is just unrelenting here. And then notice this. I said he needed no more problems on this season. Something going wrong with the truck right here would end the run early. So Triton Robbins wrapping up a run that he was not happy with. He go right over to the wash bay, by the way, a score of 22. So he jumps up on top of this thing, but he knew the guys coming in behind him were going to have something for him. Papa Zimmer starting off just the way he did yesterday. Uproar about to bomb the SLOP here in the swamps of Florida. Tell you what, the upside to having a Nick Gozell's truck sitting right there is that no one else is going to mistake the edge of that for having land underneath of it, with that beautiful brightly colored Chevrolet popped up between the islands. But I'll tell you what, with a field of trucks like this, it is a shame that the weather rolled in the way it did, because these guys have so much to offer this crowd here in Naples, Florida, and they're delivering as best they can. But when you get into this much mud, you can see even the top contenders are having trouble finding anything to do with this track. It's amazing to me, and I keep making reference to how dry it is up there. There was actually dust when he made that donut. John Zimmer Sr. getting ready to wrap up his freestyle run, and the big Ford Super Duty out of Michigan, Uproar, part of the Send It Motorsports camp. Another big jump off of that stoppy obstacle. A 28 leaves 2 points at the top for this man right here, John Zimmer Jr. Another Michigan-based machine, John out of Howell, Michigan, by way of Arlington, Vermont. Terminal velocity, leading the points right now, looking toward a victory when we get to Chattanooga, and that'll be our next stop on this tour, but they have a long season in between to try to hold on to those points, and you know the Robins are going to come after them before the season is over. Finding the ground speed, finding the hang time, it is incredible. He has been able to get a hold of this mud the way that he has. Fling a little bit right there. He just, well, you can't even see him over there. That camera's covered in rain. The handhelds are covered in mud, but the fans are having a blast. John Zimmer Jr. already on that takeover run. He didn't need anything extra, but he managed to get a little two-wheel action in there for the fans here in Naples, Florida. These guys just running away with this series in the first 4 rounds, and it's very evident that they're going to be a force to reckon with for a long time. Laying down a marathon run. At this point, we weren't sure what he had left up his sleeve when he started coming back this way. This was a move that only he and Triton Robbins found yesterday, and he made the most of it right there. Up against the bank, avoided the concrete nicely. John Zimmer Jr. giving him a show, something to keep him warm as he wrapped up action here in Naples, Florida, and we knew it was a takeover run at this point. How many points would he add to his total? 30. 2 days in a row, he adds 60 points total out of freestyle for the weekend. After 2 rounds, that puts him at 228 points up on the field, but you can see Crazy Train down in the number 5 spot is able to make a move on Colossus. He may be able to gain a little more ground before the end of round number 5 and 6, which we will not be present for. But when we come back for Chattanooga, things could probably be very, very different on this point series by season's end. We thank you for joining us and braving the weather alongside the whole crew for the All-Star Monster Truck Tour. We will see you next time.
This Back Channel Productions presentation has been brought to you by Gemini Associates. Whether you live upstairs, downstairs, or anywhere in general, we are here to serve.
Rain sucks. I hate the rain.